Hello YouTube, and welcome to a how-to video on installing a Loksound 5 decoder in a Scaletrains Rivetcounter model. So we got a little bit of work to do here, and let's get started. Okay, so as you see here, I've got one of the hard-to-find CN100 units. Obviously, hard to find is an understatement. I ordered a DCC that still hasn't come in yet, so I was able to find a DC model elsewhere for the time being, and obviously not running DC and being into DCC, I'm gonna have to install a decoder in this, so let's get started. Alrighty, so we got our handy dandy locomotive cradle here. And with that, we're going to go ahead and remove the couplers. So for that, would be a tiny Phillips head screwdriver. Phillips head would work instead of a slot. Yep, force the coupler pocket out. And then obviously the back coupler as well. So that's that. The shell should come right off, which it does. And that's nice. Now, one thing they did say something in the instruction book about flipping some dip switches. I think I see them right here. But let's go ahead and get the dummy plug off first. That sucker's on there pretty good. There we go. Alrighty, he's off. So I'm just going to put that aside, and I'm going to keep the orientation, unless actually it looks like they did key their slots. Some manufacturers don't, and it makes it a little difficult to tell the orientation of the 21 pin connector. So I'm just looking at this, wondering if it's going to be as difficult as some of the YouTube videos I've seen, because they ended up taping all the truck wires down. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. This one actually features the working LSL light on the side too, so that's definitely neat. So for this, we've got a Loksound 5 decoder. And he'll end up going in something like this. Just gonna put it on there lightly. Now, yeah, just as I feared, quite possibly the speaker wires may not be long enough to fit, so I'm gonna have to use some of these Loksound branded wires just to sort of extend it a little bit. So let's go ahead and remove the big frame weight here. I think I'm gonna have a fun time with all these taped up wires, but I'm glad to see they went through the effort of actually taping them up. That is, it's on the end of my screwdriver already. So I'll just take those guys, put them at the end. Yep. Alrighty, so in theory I have the main weight unsecured, and obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff here, so yeah, let's go ahead and start removing that tape. They really do feel like they use a good quality capping tape. Actually, I don't want to touch it, so let's use a screwdriver. They did a pretty good job here, I will say. I'm not overly worried about it because I've got my own roll of tape to put it back with. My only real concerns, I hope I can get all the bloody wires back in here. Okay, so I think I freed up the tape there. Let's see what we can do. Oh yes, the circuit boards in the front. Can't forget about those guys. So let's try that. Oh Jesus, that really is a tiny screw. I don't think that's gonna fit it. Oh my God, it does. Excellent. Since they're uber tiny screws, I do not want to lose them. That's one. So now that gives me a little. Oh yeah. That gives me the room I think I need. So let's go ahead and take the back one out as well. It's a little involved for, what in theory should be a drop-in decoder, but I mean, I've not put a decoder in any of the newer Rapido products that take the 21 pins, so I'm just wondering if it'll be just as much fun with those types of things. Again, generally I try to get it DCC ready, or DCC installed. Loosen this screw, because I actually think that's pinching the wire in between. There we go. I'm able to pull them through a bit more. That should, in theory, be just enough, almost, for me to unscrew the speaker baffle. It's in this area here. Once I can get everything up a little bit more, I'll try and show you guys. It's okay, I'm gonna try and work with it. So, the area the speaker goes, it's basically in here, and there's 4 screws. I know it's a little difficult to see on camera, but I'll show you once I got it out. I believe in the factory they use the sugar cube 11 by 15 millimeters. From how that CSX unit has or sounds from what I have, it's not, I think, the most ideal speaker setup. So what I'm actually going to try and do in this one here is use the soundtracks, I think 16 by 32 or something. So it supposedly fits. We will find out very shortly. Not the best camera angle, I do admit. I apologize for that. There we go. So that's what they give you for a factory speaker baffle. Then they end up putting 2 of the sugar cube speakers in there. It's got. I thought it would have been a little shallow just based on the sound. 'Cause there wasn't really a lot of bass resonance, and I don't know if that's potentially just the sound coming out of the Loksound file itself, or the Loksound decoder, where you don't have an EQ like you would have had, say, back in the good old soundtracks days with the tsunamis and the built-in decoder, where you could actually kick up the bass a little bit more to give it more of a rumble, right? It just, to me, it almost sounded like I don't want to say dime shaking in a pop can, but it needed a little bit more body to it. So what I'm going to try, obviously, is with the soundtrack speaker here. Just getting it opened up. I want to check the initial fit, because I'm not certain if I want to, because I don't really think that's ported, so I don't know if I want to seal that in fully or not. I'll just give you a little better idea of what it looks like, right? And then that would, in theory, just sit in there like that. And I'm hoping, because it's one big speaker instead of 2 smaller ones, I will get a little bit more bass resonance through that. And if I move this, not that way, but if I move it, you might actually be able to see there's a whole way up there used where you put your speaker wires through. So now that we got that challenge solved, let's go ahead and get the speaker wires soldered up. So for this, we don't need much wire. I'd probably say I'll do 6 inches of each. Right? So let's go line them up. And I know that's way overkill. It's just enough so that I know I can get it through and have a little bit to work with, and then cut off what I need. So actually 6 inches is probably way too much. I'm going to go with possibly 4. So it should be enough to go in, out, and hit the decoder. But you know what? Actually, I'm going to go a little bit more, just to be safe, because good old, what was it, Bob Vila? Measure twice, cut once. Well, I'll just give it a little generous portions instead. I'll just give it a little slice of rooney there. The Loksound sheathing's soft enough that you could Just use your fingers to strip it instead of wasting time with a wire stripper. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead, give this a little bit of flux. I'm gonna pre-tin the wires, obviously, just so they stick a little bit easier. Never have too much flux. That's one. Right now I'm feeling like Louis Rossman fixing a shitty Mac. I'm just gonna pull up a little bit of solder, get the iron heated up. And what I will do to sort of help out with the shadows is move that light. There we go. Just waiting for the iron to get to temp. Let's get a nice ball of solder on that. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure we tin our wire good. That's one. I like to run it both sides just to make sure we get a good tinning there. And just so you can see that. There we go. And there's a beautiful tin job. So now we get our speaker. And just wait for the iron to get up to temp. And because we pre-tinned it, it should just, I'm actually going to use some flux on that as well, just in case. That speaker's been sitting in my box in the basement of DCC supplies, so I don't want to take any chances. So that's one. From that guy for this guy. Oh, that's because I didn't flux them. Completed solder joint on the speaker. Two nice little balls, and you can probably hang from the fucking thing. So, good solder job. So now, our next exercise would be trying to figure out how to run that sort of through the, that's the one for the board, and that's the 4 for the thing. Just making sure I don't get my screws mixed up. Okay, so after some futzing with it, I finally was able to get the wires through the top, so I'm going to screw it back in now. Okay, so in theory our speaker now should be secured in there with 4 screws, so let's try and get this bad boy back together. CD harness. that screw back on the adapter board. So that should hold those guys nice and snug in place. Our speaker wires look like they will reach perfectly fine. And then let's go ahead and get this guy in there. One thing I didn't notice were these little red rings over here. They're obviously the insulators for these light boards underneath. So if you do end up doing this, you will want to replace them. I thought they were tacked to the board or something, or sorry, tacked to the frame, but nope, apparently not. They're just free floating there. And they're really, really finicky. There we go. Okay, so I think I got that one in. So, one side. Just get a better idea what I'm doing here. Yeah, so one side's got a screw hole. The other one's just a blank pin or something. That's interesting. That pin, I don't even think protrudes through the board. Oh yeah, it does. It looks like it locks it in there. Okay. One of those super duper ultra tiny screws. I'm sure if I lost it in the carpet, it would be a fun night looking for it again. Okay, so I think that's the light board back in on that end. Let's go ahead and put the light board back on the front. That I think's nice and secure. So let's see, where do we put our decoder? Okay, so looking at the manual, ups on, downs off. So coming down to the actual dip switches themselves, there they are there. If we sort of zoom in a little. Good. Looks like they did put some capping tape over top, so that's what I'm just trying to remove here with the tweezers ever so slightly. Again, great thing to make sure there's no accidental flicks of the switch or anything of that nature, and I'm actually probably going to put that back on. So let's go ahead and flick one. Flick 2. So that's supposed to enable the additional lighting features that this has. So let's go ahead and cover that back up and try and burnish it back on a little. Wouldn't know it from a factory. Except the dip switches are in the wrong spot. Okay. Okay, so luckily enough, I learned how to read, and I didn't have to bother resoldering onto the decoder in terms of the speaker wires. I just sort of removed them, cut them off, and then just put some capping tape there to make sure there's no shorts or anything. So if you can see here, the S Plus and S Minus are actually speaker terminals. So the 21 pin, again, one of its features is you don't really need separate speaker wires. It should be coming through the main board. That's just, I guess, there in case it doesn't have that. But in this case, it most certainly does. So I will be using those to solder my speaker leads to. So first things first, always, 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 flux, flux, flux. And I'm just trying to get a little bit. Flux on the terminals. Put some flux on the leads. And then we'll go ahead and get the soldering iron going. Because keep the heat on the iron. Tap a little solder there. And then I'm just gonna try and grab this with the tweezers. And there we go. Giddy up. That should be the speaker wire dealt with. So now, all we really got to do is try and pop in the decoder. Pray I don't have any frayed shorted wires on the speaker end from where I cut them off. I don't think I do. I took a look at it pretty up close, but we'll find out. So now that we technically have everything back together and in functioning form, let's go ahead and just, I guess, throw it on the programming track just to make sure we have, basic motor and light functions and whatnot. Okay, so I've got the unit on the programming track. I've got the lock programmer up and running. And it just, helps if I have the power plugged into it. Where'd that go? Okay, so definitely sounds like I got the speaker terminal right. So there's the forward. There's the reverse. Rear truck leads are fine. Front truck leads are fine. So that's good. None of that's affected at all. Back it back into the shot. Set it up. So there we go. So, it's a basic motor test. It's swinging around here. Give it a light test. So, yeah, you can see the light there. Swing it around in the other way. Light test, there's the reverse light there. So I'm going to go ahead and probably get the shell back on this and then go ahead and run it through the Loke programmer. Get the CN specific sound file installed. One thing I will say that's amazing with Scaletrains is you can go to their website, you can go to the locomotive you have, you can go to product support. and they have the sound file there to download. That is just amazing. They're not telling you, oh, here, go to ESU's website and look through their 30,000 sound files. I mean, not a complaint against ESU. They do a great job. I love their products, have for many years, and I probably will many years to come. But, just Scaletrains does make it that much more convenient for you. So let me go ahead and get this rocking and rolling on the programmer. And welcome back. So as you can see, I've got everything programmed up in terms of the sound file, function, outputs, things of that nature. And obviously I've got the shell and couplers reassembled and reattached. So let's go ahead and get her fired up. There's the horn and bell. As you can kind of see, you got the walkway light glowing away there. On the front, there's also another little walkway light glowing there. And then, give you a shot. And there's the headlights. Ditch lights. And there's the reverse DPU, and then pretty much you got the exact same thing on the other side. DPU, I take the DPU off, reverse it, you got reverse headlight and ditch lights. And also, on the other side, it might be a little difficult to see, but there is might not be able to see it completely, but there are you can see it just kind of reflecting off the trucks. It is a little dim, but take my word for it, it is there. The truck lights are there. So that's about it for this DCC decoder install. Hope you guys found it informative. I know I found it interesting. One heck of a way to spend a Saturday night, but I'm definitely happy. It was a lot of trouble trying to get the CN100 model. I don't want to really go into the stories about that, but I'm just glad I have it. I'm glad I got sound, and I'm glad everything works. So until next time, see you around, have fun, and enjoy.